Engaging the interpersonal intelligence, rethinking school curriculum. If human connection is central to how we thrive, then why is the ability to understand, relate to, and support others so often overlooked in the classroom? Why do we continue to prioritize individual academic performance over social and emotional awareness, when some students are naturally gifted in the art of empathy, communication, and human dynamics? Could it be that those with strong interpersonal intelligence are often under-recognized, not because they lack intellect, but because we fail to measure and nurture the kind of intelligence that lives in relationships, intuition, and emotional resonance? If learning is about engaging with the world, then shouldn't we value the learners who are most adept at engaging with people? Students with interpersonal intelligence shine when they're allowed to interact, collaborate, and navigate social dynamics with purpose and sensitivity. These learners can read moods through facial expressions, understand unspoken tensions, and intuitively adjust their tone and presence to support others. But if we never create space for them to lead group discussions, mediate conflicts, or take on peer mentoring roles, aren't we missing the opportunity to let them learn through their greatest strength, connection? Imagine a classroom where students are encouraged to coach a classmate through a difficult task, role-play complex social scenarios, or even plan group projects based on each member's emotional needs and contributions. Wouldn't that build not just collaboration, but leadership rooted in compassion? These students excel at demonstrating feelings through body language, and they often understand how to influence the emotional climate of a room in a planned and intentional way. What if we gave them tools to coach others, offer peer support, or facilitate reflective dialogue in response to shared challenges, academic or personal? What if interpersonal skills like conflict resolution, emotional coaching, and community building were treated with the same seriousness as mathematics or science? Wouldn't that validate the intelligence it takes to manage relationships, read emotional currents, and lead with empathy, skills that are vital in nearly every area of life and work? Interpersonal learners are the natural counselors, mediators, and team builders of any group. They often sense what's unspoken, ask the necessary questions, and know how to make others feel understood and supported. Why then are they too often relegated to soft skills instead of being seen as strategic thinkers, emotional analysts, and community architects? Shouldn't schools build environments where students can develop their social leadership, practice communication as a craft, and learn how to navigate interpersonal dynamics with wisdom and care? If education is truly about preparing students to succeed in the real world, then we must ask, are we valuing the students who can listen deeply, lead collaboratively, and connect authentically, or are we still ranking only those who perform well on paper? Because when students are empowered to develop their interpersonal strengths, they don't just grow as individuals, they become the emotional backbone of classrooms, teams, and communities. And in a world that urgently needs more empathy, more communication, and more healing, this intelligence isn't extra, it's essential. Interpersonal intelligence is not just about being social or friendly, it is the deep ability to understand other people's feelings, motivations, and perspectives, and to navigate relationships with empathy, clarity, and intention. Students with strong interpersonal intelligence have an intuitive sense of how people connect, where tensions arise, and how emotions ripple through groups. Yet traditional education often sidelines these relational strengths, treating emotional and social awareness as soft skills instead of recognizing them as essential, strategic forms of intelligence. If relationships shape societies, communities, and workplaces, shouldn't education treat interpersonal intelligence as vital to building the world we want to live in? Imagine classrooms where students aren't just tested on individual performance, but also assessed on their ability to collaborate, mediate conflicts, lead group projects, and foster healthy team dynamics. Imagine assignments where students interpret emotions from facial expressions, coach each other through learning challenges, counsel peers with active listening techniques, or build projects that require consensus building and shared vision. Wouldn't this not only recognize interpersonal skills, but integrate them into the heart of academic success? When interpersonal intelligence is engaged meaningfully, students develop more than just communication skills. They develop the ability to build trust, resolve conflict, manage group energy, and inspire cooperation. They learn to read between the lines, to notice what is not said as much as what is, and to respond to emotional needs without being explicitly told. Over time, this creates adults who are empathic leaders, wise negotiators, trusted mentors, and visionary community builders. People whose presence alone can change the emotional climate of a room or an organization. In professional life, these individuals excel in fields like counseling, diplomacy, teaching, management, human resources, activism, public relations, and healthcare, where emotional intelligence and relational strategy are often more crucial than technical skill. But even beyond specific careers, interpersonal intelligence is what makes teams resilient, organizations humane, and communities strong. In a future where collaboration, adaptability, and emotional navigation are critical for survival, shouldn't schools be doing everything they can to nurture these gifts? Engaging interpersonal learners also cultivates ethical awareness and a sense of collective responsibility. These students are often the first to notice when someone feels excluded, when injustice is brewing, or when emotional needs are being overlooked. If we empower them to use their natural sensitivities, not just to help individuals, but to shape inclusive systems and advocate for fairness, we prepare them to become not just caretakers, but change makers. Shouldn't education harness their empathy as a tool for both personal connection and social transformation? In a world increasingly fractured by polarization and disconnection, interpersonal intelligence offers a healing force. It fosters leaders who know how to build bridges across divides, who understand that dialogue is as important as debate, and who can hold space for complexity without fear. If schools continue to focus only on individual achievement without nurturing collective intelligence, are we not risking the very foundation of cooperation and progress itself? To engage this intelligence, educators must create learning environments rich in collaboration, dialogue, mentorship, and emotional literacy. Students should be encouraged to interpret social dynamics, reflect on relationship patterns, practice nonviolent communication, and lead through influence rather than authority. Group projects should not just assess task completion, but also evaluate how students manage group energy, resolve tension, and support collective success. When we fully engage interpersonal intelligence, we don't just create better collaborators. We cultivate empathic leaders, resilient communities, and organizations rooted in trust. We empower a generation not just to work together, but to understand, heal, and uplift one another. In doing so, education becomes not just a personal journey, it becomes a collective act of transformation.